Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitzmug TV here, aka GLauren33. Want to welcome you guys back to the channel here tonight. This is your official Money in the Bank 2020 full show review and result right here on the best wrestling podcast on YouTube, the Legit Shoot Podcast. Hope everyone is doing great tonight. And man, oh man, Money in the Bank, you guys know how I feel about Money in the Bank. I look at this as a Big 5 pay-per-view. It's right up there with the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series because of all the stakes and what it leads to in terms of WWE storytelling, especially going into the summer months. We are slowly on the build towards SummerSlam, and man, oh man, a lot of things are going crazy. All right, I'm just looking. JD, my boy JD NY from 206 just went live. You know, what up, my boy Anthony? You guys know Anthony, aka Moose. He's the guy I used to do the podcast with. He's my brother. So definitely good to see you in the chat, bro. And I know the chat will be filling up as the stream goes by. Hope everyone is doing safe and healthy. But we are here to talk about Money in the Bank. Before we get into the podcast here tonight, you know, I'm actually very excited to talk about this show. I don't trust WWE, you guys know this, but I will give them credit where credit is due. When it comes to tonight's show, this is like the first pay-per-view that WWE has done that was under 3 hours. The show started at 7 o'clock. It ended right a couple minutes before 9:30, barely 2.5 hours, and I gotta give WWE credit for that. It was something like an NXT takeover. I'm not calling this show an NXT takeover level show. The card was definitely not on the level of an NXT takeover, but when it comes to the time and the structure of matches, especially the ending with, you know, Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins and the Money in the Bank ladder matches, I gotta give WWE credit where credit is due. Also, with the Money in the Bank ladder match, we know that it was pre-taped. It was taped earlier this week, and you know, they gave it that cinematic style similar to what they did at WrestleMania with The Undertaker versus AJ Styles and John Cena versus Bray Wyatt in the Firefly Funhouse match. And I gotta give WWE credit where credit is due. The Money in the Bank ladder match was awesome tonight. It was awesome from start to finish. You know, you didn't have no commentary. You had the music. You had, you know, the cameo appearances by like Paul Heyman and Stephanie McMahon and Vince and all. They really did a good job structuring and laying everything all out. I thought WWE, you guys know I don't trust WWE at all, but they did a fantastic job with the Money in the Bank ladder match. They did a great job with the pacing of the show. There are things that I am gonna probably rant and bitch and moan about because, you know, it's me. I always have something to complain about, but I gotta give credit where credit is due. Money in the Bank, for me, I gotta give it a pass. If you can give me a WWE pay-per-view that's, you know, less than 4 hours long, this show wasn't even 3 hours. It was 2.5 hours long. It did its job, and I gotta give credit where credit is due. All right, as the chat is filling up and people are talking, you know, make sure to say hello if you guys are in the chat. If you guys are watching this afterwards, slap a like on this video. Also, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications by clicking the bell right next to my name, Fitzmug TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. It's been a wild week. We had the Raw review, we had NXT, we had SmackDown, now we have Money in the Bank. You know, we should probably be lucky that we didn't get an NXT takeover because I would have been drained out. There's so much wrestling, you know, and AEW with that fantastic street fight they had with Kenny Omega and Matt Harvey going up against Jericho and Sammy Guevara. You know, there's so much wrestling. And you know, this is your home for all wrestling right here on the Legit Shoot Podcast. But we're gonna get into Money in the Bank tonight. Also, one more thing, if you guys are watching this live and you guys are new to the channel, we will be right back here tomorrow night right after Raw goes off the air, like we do every single Monday here on the Legit Shoot Pod. But enough of that. Let's get into Money in the Bank tonight. All right, first off, I know you guys want my initial reaction, you know, and we are going. And oh, what up, Junior? Good to see you. I'll come back. Let me take a show. Yeah, Anthony is in the chat. If you guys, I don't know how long he's gonna stay, but if you guys want to chat with my boy Moose, he's in the chat for at least right now. But we are gonna break down the Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later. But I'm gonna give you guys my reaction to the winners. So we're gonna talk about the match itself a little bit later on in the podcast. But let me give you guys my reaction to the winners first. So going into this, I had basically two favorites for the men and the women. For the women, I had either Asuka or Shayna Baszler winning. All right, Asuka, you guys know I've become a huge Asuka fan in the last year. I love what she's doing with her heel character, man. You know, and it was reported a couple months ago that, you know, Vince was actually enjoying Asuka's work on the main roster, and he was highly considering giving Asuka a main roster push. You know, and the thing about it is, I've said this multiple times on the podcast over the years. The thing is with Asuka, she is fantastic. You guys know Sasha Banks is easily my favorite women's wrestler in WWE, and I think she's the greatest women's wrestler of all time, even though half the time WWE doesn't book her correctly. Not even half the time. 80% of the time, Sasha's not booked correctly. But I'm also a huge fan of Ronda Rousey, Asuka. I've become a huge Bayley fan since she turned heel, and we'll talk about Bayley a little bit later on in the show. But Asuka, it seems like every single time they've given her start and stop pushes. You know, when she originally came to the main roster, she was undefeated for a very long time. And then they decided to make one of the worst creative decisions, I think, of the last 5 years, having Charlotte and Asuka's undefeated streak at WrestleMania 34. Moose would know, you know, if you back then when we were doing the Legit Shoot podcast, it was me and Moose. We were the best duo on YouTube. And if you go check out the WrestleMania 34 review, you guys will see Moose's iconic rant on WWE when Charlotte beat Asuka, you know, and and ever since then, Asuka's never fully recovered. I know that later in the year, she did win the SmackDown Women's Championship in that fantastic ladder match at TLC, but then they messed it up by giving it to Charlotte 2 weeks before WrestleMania, just because, you know, you wanted to do the winner take all match at WrestleMania and all that other nonsense. Then moving forward, and people keep texting me, man, like they don't understand I'm recording right now. But moving forward, you know, they messed up Asuka. She should Asuka. Remember what was Asuka forced to do after that? Like 2 weeks before WrestleMania, after she lost the SmackDown Women's Championship to Charlotte, she was in the Battle Royal and she didn't even win. Imagine that. Imagine being a champion 2 weeks before WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year, having the title stripped from you and then being put on the pre-show in a meaningless Battle Royal. Please. And then we move on. You know, they pair her with Kairi Sane and Paige, the Kubaki Warriors. They become the women's tag team champions. But like I say almost every single week, as much as I love Asuka and Kairi Sane, I don't know if Kairi Sane's coming back to WWE. And I wouldn't after they buried her to Nia Jax last month. You know, the women's tag team championships were buried and meant nothing to me. They were just props. The second you took those titles off of Sasha Banks and Bayley at WrestleMania 35 to the freaking Iconics, who we haven't seen on WWE TV in like a year. So I'll state my claim on that. They lost those tag team championships at WrestleMania to freaking Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Thing about it is, I will talk about Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross a little bit later when it comes to Sasha Banks and Bayley, but I'll get to them when we talk about the SmackDown Women's Championship a little bit later on in the podcast. But the whole point is, I'm giving you guys all the examples of how, you know, WWE has pushed Asuka and then they just stop, you know. But Asuka, these last couple months, she's been doing fantastic work. You know, how she's always talking in Japanese, her dancing. Like, I love Asuka. And, you know, there was reports that Vince had really wanted to see Asuka get pushed. And I'm hoping this is not a start or stop push. I really hope not, but I don't trust WWE. I don't. They gave Asuka the Money in the Bank briefcase, and I got hyped. All right, I got hyped. Number one, before we talk about Asuka and the Money in the Bank briefcase, I gotta mention Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler, I don't care what anybody says. Some idiot on Twitter, and the guys messaged me on Twitter right now. All right, Shayna Baszler is officially buried on the main roster. I don't give a damn what anybody says. She is officially buried on the main roster. All right? Here you have Shayna Baszler, two-time NXT Women's Champion. When I think of the greatest NXT Women's Champions of all time, I think of Sasha, I think of Asuka, I think of Shayna. I'm not giving any order, but those are the three I think of when I think greatest NXT Women's Champion. She was super dominant. She beat everybody. And we all remember when she beat Rhea Ripley, when Rhea Ripley beat her on the last NXT show of last year, how great a moment that was. And they fucked it up, of course, when they gave Charlotte the the NXT Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Terrible decision. But we're not talking about Charlotte here. All right. By the way, I gotta thanks my boy Salreax for making the dope layout. He makes all the layouts for us here on the channel. Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-view. So thank you for the dope Money in the Bank layout, Salreax. All right. But back to what I was saying about Asuka. Or Shayna, my bad. I'm trying to focus on Asuka and Shayna at the same time. Let's get back to Shayna. Shayna, you send her to the main roster and you have her go at Becky. First off, Shayna should have won the Women's Royal Rumble. It should have never been Charlotte. Don't get me started on that. Charlotte should have never won the Women's Royal Rumble. And then you gave us that disgusting, terrible Elimination Chamber match back in February when you had Shayna bury the entire Raw Women's division, including Asuka. She buried Asuka. She buried, Liv Morgan, Natalya, who else was in that match? I think it was Riot and Sarah Logan. She buried everybody. And the thing about it is, you had her go up against Becky, and I'm not gonna lie, the match with Becky at WrestleMania was pretty good, but the ending was terrible. Shayna should have never lost to Becky. If you were gonna have Becky beat Shayna, there was no point of even ever having Shayna in that position. Shayna should have destroyed Becky. Should have destroyed it. And I've said this on multiple occasions. I've said this every single week since WrestleMania. The only chance left, the only hope for Shayna was for her to win the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Excuse me. And I told you guys, if Lacey Evans or Nia Jax, if one of those two won Money in the Bank tonight, I would come out here and destroy this entire show. Even though Money in the Bank tonight was a pretty good pay-per-view for what it was, if Lacey or Nia had won Money in the Bank tonight, I would have came on here and ripped this entire show. I don't care what anybody says. But you go back to what they did. Shayna didn't even make it to the roof. Shayna didn't make this was her last chance to be someone special, for them to rewrite the wrong that they did at WrestleMania, but they chose not to because it's WWE. And the thing that sucks is Shayna didn't even make it to the roof. Nia Jax threw Shayna into a wall halfway through the match, and then Shayna was done. Not to be seen, not to be spoken of again. Terrible. All right, and as happy as I am that Asuka won, even though I'm afraid WWE's gonna fuck it up, Shayna didn't even make it to the roof. If that doesn't tell you how WWE sees Shayna, then I don't know what else to tell you. It was reported months ago that Vince wasn't that high on Shayna because of the reaction that Shayna versus Kairi Sane got on Raw in Brooklyn. First of all, that's WWE's fault because in that match, it was heel versus heel. The Brooklyn crowd didn't know who to freaking vote for. They had no idea who to cheer for. It would have been easy for them to cheer Kairi Sane, but still at that time, Kairi Sane was in a heel tag team with Asuka. It made 0 cents. 0 cents. All right. And Little Noodles, I see your comment. You said Becky and Bayley is so boring now. Becky is boring. Bayley's not. And I will talk about Bayley a little bit later on in the podcast. Bayley, I love what Bayley's doing right now. But Becky, oh man. All right, but Shayna Baszler, she didn't make it to the roof tonight, and that her not even being in the final stretch of the match, that tells you what WWE thinks of Shayna Baszler. It would have been one thing if Shayna was on the roof and she lost to Asuka. That would be something, but no. They decided to not even have her make it to the roof. Like, are you kidding me right now? Really? Really, if that doesn't tell you that they don't care about Shayna and they don't find anything special about her, that's sad. That is really sad. And shame on WWE because of, oh my gosh, Shayna's that great in the ring, and how you mess that up? How do you mess that up? The only hope for Shayna is if Ronda Rousey comes back and they pair Ronda and Shayna together. That's it. Shayna's buried on the main roster. Like, buried. You know? I feel bad for Shayna. Imagine, less than 6 months ago, you're NXT Women's Champion. You're on top of the world. Alright, top of the world. You lose to Rhea Ripley in a great match. You get caught up to the main roster, and they fuck you up. They don't give you the Royal Rumble, you know, and even though you have hope that at WrestleMania they're going to make things right, having you beat Becky, no. And the thing is, they don't even have you in the final stretch of the Money in the Bank match. Shayna Baszler tweeted on her Twitter account, Baszler in the bank. And then Ronda Rousey commented, oh yeah, I'm voting for you tonight, sweetie. Ha, 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 ha. I don't know why Shayna tweeted that, because this match was pre-taped. She already knew she was gonna lose. I'm sorry, but Shayna is officially buried. As happy as I am that Asuka won Money in the Bank, Shayna is buried, and I don't give a damn what anybody says about that. She will not recover from this. The only hope Shayna has is if Ronda comes back whenever, and they pair Shayna with Ronda, and they do the MMA Horsewoman against the 4 Horsewomen. That's it. Other than that, buried. Another NXT talent buried. And the thing about it is, the funny thing is, man, it wasn't even Charlotte this time. Usually it's Charlotte the one buried the NXT talent. No, this time this was purely Vince. Purely Vince. Terrible, man. Terrible. I see you, Moose. Yeah, I wonder what Marcel thinks about that. Marcel believes that NXT, as much as I love the NXT talent, most of them, about 90% of them, once they get to the main roster, they are buried. There are very few NXT call-ups from the last 5 years that have actually made a name for themselves on the main roster. And that would probably be like the 4 Horsewomen. I don't believe I'm saying her name, but Alexa Bliss, Asuka to a certain extent, because she has had some terrible moments. Kevin Owens. And that's all that's coming to my mind as of right now, you know. Drew McIntyre, I guess, but he was already in WWE before NXT. But I guess you can count him because he, you know, he's in a much better position now, especially once he came back. But most, like I said, 90% of NXT talent, when they come up, WWE buries them. And Shayna Baszler is just like the rest. And it's sad. It really is sad. But getting back over to Asuka. I am very happy for Asuka, but I am afraid. My boy Moose used to be one of the biggest Asuka fans in the world. He still loves Asuka, but thing is, he doesn't trust WWE just like I don't trust WWE. Anthony, who's in the chat, he texted this to me. He asked me to say this on the podcast for y'all to hear. He said, and this is for both Asuka and Otis. He said, none of them are going to successfully cash it in. You heard it here first. Becky's gonna beat Asuka, and Manny is gonna turn on Otis when he cashes in. Otis ain't winning shit. Becky is going to do to Asuka what Cena did to Damien Sandow. You guys remember back in I believe it was 2012? Cena came back from he had like a bicep injury. And he became World Heavyweight Champion, defeated Del Rio. Damien Sandow was Mr. Money in the Bank at the time. He failed his cash in to Cena and never recovered. I'm very terrified they're going to do the same thing to Asuka. We may not get any successful cash-in for Money in the Bank this year. All right? I love Otis. I love what they've done with Otis and Mandy. It's been probably the best storyline on WWE TV this year, outside of what they're doing with Sasha Banks and Bayley right now, with the slow build up to Bayley eventually turning Sasha babyface, which of course we'll talk about in a little bit. But I'm afraid because, yes, we've seen Asuka versus Becky. I can argue that Asuka is Becky's greatest opponent of all time. Her greatest rival, you know, from their battles for the SmackDown Women's Championship to the Raw Women's Championship. You know, we've seen them, you know, get the upper leg of one another. I thought after they had Becky defeat Asuka twice this year, we were not going to see that again. Well, it looks like we are going to see that again. It also has been confirmed that Becky Lynch will be on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. And you guys know how I feel about Becky Lynch. I've been ranting about her for weeks now. You know, I don't respect Becky anymore. All right, this is not the man that we all fell in love with back on the build-up to Survivor Series back in 2018. The Becky Lynch that was fucking bleeding, sitting in the stands with a busted nose, staring down Ronda Rousey. This is not the same Becky. Instead, this is more like Becky Lynch gone Hollywood. She's busy filming Billions, which is doing terrible ratings, filming for Marvel movies, and all this other stuff, rather than being at Raw to defend her championship. All right, I'll say this for Bayley. Bayley successfully defended the SmackDown Women's Championship tonight. Bayley should not have to defend her title at Extreme Rules because Becky didn't defend her title tonight. I don't give a damn what anybody says. I don't. Becky should be defending her title. If you are the man, if you're the face of the company, like everyone wants to say that she is, you should be there every single week. Like I always say, Stone Cold, John Cena, Triple H, The Rock, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, some of the greatest champions in WWE history were there every single week, wrestling and defending their titles. Becky Lynch, I don't care how good she is, all right? She's overrated if you ask me, and I used to be a huge Becky Lynch fan, all right? And I know there's going to be people in the comment section that disagree with me, but at the end of the day, Becky Lynch is not special. She is not. I don't care what anybody says. She has not shown up on Monday Night Raw since the Raw after WrestleMania. Tomorrow, it's going to be a month since Becky Lynch was last on television. I'm sorry, no. Everyone's talking about how she's the longest rating Raw Women's Champion of all time. Please shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. Please. All right? Half the time she's not even there to defend her title. Bayley, I read something on Twitter, and like I said, we'll talk about Bayley a little bit later. Bayley, since she's been SmackDown Women's Champion, has defended her title almost every single pay-per-view. And she won that title at Money in the Bank last year. Outside of her loss to Charlotte, she has defended that title every single month and successfully defended, no matter if it was against Lacey Evans or Naomi or Alexa Bliss or Nikki Cross or Tamina. She has successfully defended that title every single month. Bayley has been a great SmackDown Women's Champion, while Becky has been the opposite of that. She has been garbage. She has been trash. Trash. All right? I don't give a damn what anybody says. She's held that title way too long. Way too long. All right? All right? Way too long. And I swear, I don't know how WWE's going to do it. All right? What I personally hope, this is the way I would do it. All right? Becky needs a new feud. She has not been on WWE TV for a month. She needs a new opponent. It's not going to be Shayna again. They could do Shayna, but I don't think it's going to be Shayna. They could do Nia. The story tells itself. Becky versus Shayna. Not Becky versus Shayna. Becky versus Nia. Nia broke Becky's nose. They never had a one-on-one match for that. So, because remember, Nia did get injured after WrestleMania. I don't care about Nia, but it's a simple story. Becky needs an opponent. Have Nia Jax destroy Becky Lynch. All right? Becky barely is able to, escape Nia's hands, right? And then Asuka comes in, cashes in, becomes Raw Women's Champion. That's what I would do personally, all right? If Asuka fails, if WWE chooses to have Becky, all right, and I see Moose said in the chat, Becky's being saved for Ronda. I agree. We are going to eventually get a Becky versus Ronda match, but we don't know when Ronda Rousey's coming back. And I know people say WrestleMania next year. Are we even sure there's going to be a WrestleMania in LA next year? Are we sure there's going to be a WrestleMania? Because with the way this is going, they're saying we're not going to have, large events till there's a vaccine. So, I don't know. But the thing about it is, Becky versus Ronda would make sense for WrestleMania, but they don't need a championship. They don't. Becky versus Ronda, the story tells itself. They could do that match at SummerSlam this year without the title if they want to. And honestly, that's the way it should be, in my opinion. Becky does not need the belt. I'm fine with Becky going off and doing her movies and all this, but you should not be champion if you're off doing movies and that other stuff. All right, the belt needs to be there every single week. I don't care what anybody says. But in terms of Asuka, if WWE decides, and I pray, I don't trust WWE, because if it happens, I won't be surprised. But I pray, all right, I pray, you know, because I'll say this, Moose can attest this. I was so confident that Sasha was going to defeat Becky at WrestleMania, or not WrestleMania, at Hell in a Cell last year. I was 101% confident that Sasha was going to win the Raw Women's Championship at Hell in a Cell last year. They were going to redeem her loss to Charlotte and finally make her heel turn official. All right, make her return to the top of the WWE's Women's Division official. They didn't do that. And ever since that, I've never trusted WWE, especially when it comes to an opponent going up against Becky Lynch. All right, I pray. I won't be as mad, but if Asuka does not become Raw Women's Champion and Becky defeats her when Asuka cashes in, you guys will get the rant of the century. All right, I will absolutely rip WWE a new one. I won't be surprised if it happens, but I will be pissed if it happens. All right, you've done Asuka dirty way too many times. She should have never lost to Charlotte at WrestleMania 34. Charlotte should have never defeated her for the SmackDown Women's Championship 2 weeks before WrestleMania 35. Right? She should have honestly defeated Becky for the Raw Women's Championship earlier this year, but we knew they weren't going to do that because they had Becky and Shayna written for WrestleMania since Survivor Series. All right. I am just praying WWE for once make the right decision. Asuka is on a roll right now. She has all the momentum in the world. Most of us are real WWE fans and not casual fucks that like to jerk off the Becky Lynch, the posters of Becky Lynch they have in their freaking bedrooms. All right, those of us that are real WWE fans, we know that Becky Lynch's time is up. She's had her reigns. She's had her time as champion, and it's time to give someone else a chance. And it's time for Asuka to get her justice. I pray WWE make the right decision. Have Asuka successfully cash it against Becky. And even if you do have Asuka become champion, don't do that crap like, oh, Asuka becomes champion and she holds it for 1 or 2 months just for Becky to win it back at SummerSlam or something like that. Don't do that crap. If you're gonna give Asuka the championship, let her run with it. Let her run with it. Please, all right? Give her a 4 or 5 or 6 month reign. Don't give that 2-month reign and give her right back to Becky Lynch. Becky doesn't need it. She's had her time. I've been saying this since Hell in a Cell. Becky has had her time. You made the right decision. Even though Shayna Baszler should have won tonight, Asuka was my pick. And I'm happy that Asuka won. But make the right decision for once. All right? Also, Getting back into it. Anyway, my boy just texted me. Anyway, yo, Sasha posted something funny on Twitter. Anyway. Otis. Oh, I'll keep Otis short and sweet. I had AJ Styles or Aleister Black winning Money in the Bank. I'm not mad that Otis won. All right, I'm really not. It's becoming more and more, I guess you could say, normal for at least one of the Money in the Bank cash-ins to fail or for us to have a surprise winner. Like I said, I had AJ Styles or Aleister Black. One of those two were my pick to win the match. I'm not mad about Otis. I love Otis. I kind of, I love what they're doing with Otis and Mandy, but I'm kind of sad that we don't get to see Tucker. We barely seen Tucker since his Otis and Mandy storyline started back in February. It's like Heavy Machinery's been broken up and Otis is a single star now. Of course, everyone loves Otis. He's one of my favorites, but I don't see Otis becoming Universal Champion. I don't think any of us see Otis becoming Universal Champion. All right? Moose said it to me, like I said earlier. Moose said, and I pretty much agree with him. I think when the time does come for Otis to cash in, Mandy will, distract him, all right, or do something to cause Otis to fail. Mandy, I like Otis and Mandy as a power couple right now. Thing is, Mandy is more set for a heel role. I don't see Mandy really as a babyface. I don't mind Mandy as a babyface, but she's more of a heel. She's the blonde with the looks. The magazine covers. She has a cocky heel written all over her. So I don't know, because right now Strowman is Universal Champion. I don't see Otis cashing out on Strowman. Maybe they'll try to have, because like I said, I think the Fiend is going to become the next Universal Champion, probably at Extreme Rules, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But getting back to it, I think when the time comes, if Otis cashes it on Strowman or on Bray Wyatt or the Fiend or something like that, he will probably fail. And I'm okay with that. For the men, there's really nobody that really deserved to be Money in the Bank. Like I said, Aleister Black or AJ Styles, it would have been cool for one of them to become Money in the Bank. But at the end of the day, nobody really needed it. On the women's side, Shayna Baszler needed it and she didn't get it. And I'm not complaining about Asuka, but there's really nobody on the men's side that really needed that Money in the Bank briefcase. So if Otis eventually does fail, I'm not gonna, complain about it. It'll be a funny moment and it'll just be something we look back on like, remember when Otis was Money in the Bank? So like I said, I'm way more concerned about Asuka. Yeah. Oh, but Musa said something very interesting in the chat. He said Tucker's the one who is costing Otis the chip. That could be something right there. Like I said, I don't want to see Heavy Machinery break up, but I see Moose. That could be very valid. When I think about Money in the Bank, all right, and I think about how Otis has become a single star with Mandy and all that. We all love Otis. Maybe WWE doesn't want to break up Otis and Mandy, and they don't have to. They really don't have to. Maybe when Otis goes to become WWE champion, maybe Tucker interferes and costs Otis because he's jealous of Otis. Because Otis became a big single star and Tucker got left in the rain. He got left alone. We've barely seen Tucker on WWE TV. So Moose, I do see what you say there, bro, and definitely I think that would be great. I'd rather see Tucker turn on Otis than Mandy, but we'll just have to wait and see. I don't want to see Heavy Machinery break up, especially when they still haven't become tag team champions. It kind of reminds me of what they did with Enzo and Cass a couple years back. Enzo and Cass got broken up long before they should have ever broken up. You guys saw. Cass was gone within 6. Enzo and Cass, both of them were gone within 6 months of being broken up. Enzo got in trouble, and so did Cass. Cass got thrown out for being a cancer in the locker room, and Enzo kept doing stupid stuff. He got kicked off the WWE tour buses and all that. So, hey, and I don't think we'll ever see Enzo and Cass back in WWE, at least not right now. But I hope that's not the same thing that happens to Heavy Machinery. But we'll just have to wait and see. But definitely, probably, I think it's less likely that Otis will become Universal Champion. Either Tucker or what's his name? Or Mandy. One of those two will probably cost him the Universal Championship when the time comes. Junior says, Fitz, I just watched the first 8 seasons of DBZ and I can't believe what I've been missing for years. Yeah, Junior. Yeah. Dragon Ball is the best show ever creative. Alright? Once you finish Dragon Ball Z, go watch Dragon Ball Super. Alright? That's just a quick, little side note, alright? DBZ is the best show ever. Alright? Go watch Dragon Ball Super once you finish Dragon Ball Z, bro. But anyway, let's get into Money in the Bank tonight. All right. On the pre-show, I believe I didn't watch the pre-show, but it was Cesaro versus Jeff Hardy, and I heard it was a fantastic match. I'm not gonna get mad at it. I didn't watch it. Maybe I will. Probably won't. But if someone tells me to really go watch that pre-show match, I will, because Cesaro is great. Like I said, Cesaro can have a 5-star match with a paper bag. And Jeff Hardy at this stage of his career can still put on a damn good match when he's put with the right opponent. I definitely think probably later on this summer, once Bray Wyatt becomes Universal Champion again, we will get Jeff Hardy versus Bray Wyatt, especially if Roman Reigns isn't coming back anytime soon. Moving on, let's get into the show tonight. Since my boy Moose is here, instead of talking about the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, let's talk about the SmackDown Women's Championship first, alright? I know a lot of my viewers love talking about Sasha Banks because this is a pro Sasha Banks channel, and Sasha Banks was, doing her thing tonight. I kind of wish Sasha Banks was in the Money in the Bank ladder match, but like I always said, Sasha doesn't need the Money in the Bank briefcase to build a program with Bayley. She doesn't need it, I told you guys that the Money in the Bank briefcase winner for the woman was going to be somebody from Raw, and I was correct. I was 100% almost on all my predictions tonight. The only one I got wrong was Otis. But the thing is, I want to talk about Tamina versus Bayley first, just because, since WrestleMania, they have been slowly building tension between Sasha Banks and Bayley. And I gotta say, you guys know, or some people may know, when Bayley was a babyface and she had the hugger mentality, she had the ponytail, I wasn't a big fan of Bayley. I was not, because I just didn't really like her TV character. I knew how good she was in the ring, and I say this all the time, Sasha Banks versus Bayley from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn back in 2015, the greatest women's match of all time. Of all time, I don't care what anybody says. One of the greatest NXT TakeOver matches, right up there with Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa, right up there with Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano. The list goes on and on and on. It's incredible. All right, ever since Bayley turned heel, when she first turned heel, I didn't know how they were gonna do it, but as Bayley has, gone through the months, she has become a more and more better heel. Her heel character is fantastic. The only thing I can complain about when it comes to Bayley's heel character is her entrance music. And they gave Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins, for years now, he's gone with the Burn It Down music, and, it fit his character. It also, didn't bother me that he was still using that music with his Messiah character. They decided to change Seth Rollins' music tonight, and it sounds very similar to Bayley. Right now, I'm going to give it a couple weeks, see if it grows on me, but right now, I don't like Seth Rollins' theme song, just like I don't like Bayley's theme song. But other than Bayley's theme song, what she's been doing as a heel has been fantastic. Fantastic. I still got people texting me. What the hell is this? Nigga sent me a photo of Squidward. And it's kind of funny. Sasha Banks just retweeted that they did an interview with Sasha Banks and Bayley after Money in the Bank, talking about how they're stronger than ever and all this other stuff. What up, Lauren? Good to see you. Bayley has been fantastic as a heel. She's been a much better women's champion than Charlotte or Becky Lynch. She's been the best women's champion in all of WWE. She defends her title each and every single month, right? And she finds unique ways to win her matches, and she's been great. I'm happy for Bayley. I'm happy. Because out of all the 4 horsewomen, she's been the only one that's been booked correctly for most of her time on the main roster. When she first came up, they slowly built her up for the Raw Women's Championship. They had her beat Charlotte, and then she actually had a WrestleMania moment. Then back in, I think it was 2018, they had her and Sasha going up against Absolution and the Riot Squad. That wasn't good. But it did lead to Sasha Banks and Bayley forming a tag team. They won the tag team championships, which wasn't all that bad. And then 2 months after, when Sasha Banks was on hiatus, she became Money in the Bank and won the SmackDown Women's Championship in the same month. For the most part, I would say about 60-70% of her main roster run, Bayley's been booked correctly, and she's actually had a really great title reign. If you look at Charlotte, all of Charlotte's title reigns have been disgusting. They've been terrible. None of them are memorable. Becky Lynch's title reigns, the only people that think her 1 year as Raw Women's Champion is memorable is the people, like I said, that have Becky Lynch posters on their Raw on their wall, and they jerk off to them before they go to sleep. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. All right, and Sasha Banks, she has never been booked correctly as champion. I'm praying that changes when we get Sasha Banks and Bayley later this year, because we all know it's coming. They're slowly building up to it. So at the beginning of the match, all right, before the match starts, we see Sasha Banks and Bayley there backstage, all right, and I'm forgetting the name of the ring announcer or the interviewer. It wasn't Charlie Caruso. It was the other one. And they're interviewing Sasha Banks and Bayley. And the interviewer goes up to Sasha and they talked about how the only reason why Tamina gets this opportunity tonight is when Tamina defeated Sasha Banks on SmackDown a couple weeks ago. I remember ranting on it, all right? And I kind of like WWE how they bring up these past instances. But the thing about it is, and I think it was Kayla. Kayla was the one. She was the interviewer. Kayla asked Sasha, Sasha, you always have Bayley's back, but did Bayley blame you when you lost to Tamina a couple weeks ago? And the thing is, Bayley interrupted Sasha. Sasha didn't even get a word in. Bayley was like, no, I didn't blame her. All this. I'm getting tired of these stupid questions. Me and Sasha are stronger than ever. And for all those stupid sheep tonight, I'm going to go out there and defeat Tamina just like I do every other pay-per-view. You know, and then the thing is, the camera then shines in on Sasha. Michael Cole goes like, oh, I wish we could have got Sasha's answer. And it's basically, this has been going back to before WrestleMania, back when we had the Fatal 5-Way announced. It seems like we never really get a clear idea of what Sasha's thinking, even though I know what Sasha's thinking. But in terms of the storyline, Bayley's always trying to be in control of the situations. It's like she's using Sasha to keep that SmackDown Women's Championship to as closer as possible. She's using her friendship with Sasha to her advantage, and sooner or later Sasha's gonna get sick of it. All right, we all know that it's coming. It's coming slowly, and you know, with the hacker, you know, and we all know the hackers, Mustafa Ali and Chad Gable. Like, we all know who the hackers are on SmackDown. Eventually, it's gonna come up to a boiling point. And like I said, since Becky didn't defend her title tonight, I would not have Bayley defend her title at Extreme Rules. You know, we still have 3 months till SummerSlam. Even if SummerSlam can't take place in Boston, hopefully by then social distancing is at least a little less of an issue. Maybe they can have SummerSlam as some kind of beach, and actually make it feel like a SummerSlam and actually have some kind of crowd. That's what I'm hoping for. But either way, we know this is leading towards Sasha and Bayley at SummerSlam, and eventually, either no matter if it has something to do with the hacker revealing something about Sasha Banks and Bayley, or if Sasha just gets too tired of Bayley, or if Bayley turns on Sasha, we all know it's eventually leading to Sasha turning babyface. All right, we all know it's coming. We just don't know how. And the thing is, like, I wish we could go forward 3 months to see how this all plays out, because we still have a long way to go till SummerSlam, and we still have 3 long months till then. But I like what they're doing with this storyline. It is slowly building, and you know, they keep dropping little hints. Like, you know, Sasha's expression after Bayley cut her off during the interview, she was just like, It looked like she was a little bit frustrated, but instead she focused on the match. Getting into the match itself, what happened? You know, Base in the chat says they wasted food as always, especially during these times. Yeah, we'll talk about that food fight a little bit later. But getting back into the match itself, Sasha had an amazing, a beautiful red leather outfit, man. She was looking amazing on the outside of the ring. But anyway, back to the match itself. this match, it wasn't bad. One thing is, I love Bailey's work as a heel. I've been saying this the last couple weeks. You know, Bailey, how she's talking crap to Michael Cole and Corey Graves on commentary because, you know, the commentary when there's no crowd, you could hear the commentary team at ringside. The superstars could hear what Michael Cole and Tom Phillips what they're saying. So I just love seeing Bailey just react to everything Michael Cole says, like "Shut up, Michael Cole!" Like "Watch this, Corey," all this other stuff. So Bailey did her fantastic heel work as usual. Tamina was okay during this match, but the thing is, like I said, Tamina sucks. Tamina sucks. I'm happy that she's being used a little bit, but we all know that Tamina was never gonna win this match tonight. We all knew it. She was not gonna win. Yes, it was a kind of a little bit of an underdog story, seeing her get this, little bit of a mini push late in her career, but excuse me. My gosh, I keep burping, sorry. But we all knew Tamina was never gonna win. Never gonna win. This was always more about seeing if there was gonna be anything between Sasha Banks and Bailey. And at the end of the match, we saw Tamina, she hit the Samoa drop, and then Sasha right entered the ring. She did break up the pin, but she entered into the ring kind of to distract Tamina. Tamina, being an idiot, of course, being the stupid babyface, decided to run after Sasha outside the ring. Sasha gets into the ring, and then she starts complaining that her heel broke. All right. This leading to Bailey being able to roll up Tamina, getting the win. After the match, Sasha hits Tamina with a brutal kick, slaps her in the face like, "You made me break my heel." And even though Sasha didn't interfere in the match, she was able to cause enough of a distraction, allowing Bailey to pick up the victory, successfully retaining her SmackDown Women's Championship. Then afterwards, Sasha and Bailey talk crap to Michael Cole, and they look as united as ever. Earlier in the night, I said something like, "What up, Big Rob?" All right. Braden 9090. I hear you. I definitely hear you talking about freaking Carmella's outfit. I don't know what the hell she was wearing tonight. That was ridiculous. Anyway, getting back into it. What I would do with Sasha Banks and Bailey, we have 3 long months till SummerSlam. But what I would do, Sasha Banks and Bailey, the only time the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships were relevant is when Sasha Banks and Bailey were holding them. They should have never lost those titles, in my opinion. They should have never lost those titles to the Iconics. They should have held those titles most of the year, if not all of last year. The Women's Tag Team Championships have been irrelevant on WWE TV since that day. If you want to make the Women's Tag Team Championships look somewhat important, this is what I do. All right, either this Friday or next Friday on SmackDown, have Sasha Banks and Bailey challenge for the Women's Tag Team titles. Have them defeat Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross and make them look as dominant as ever. All right. Then what I do is, maybe either Extreme Rules or what would make more sense, the pay-per-view after that, which I think is WWE Payback or Great Balls of Fire. Whatever pay-per-view WWE has in July. That's when I have Sasha Banks and Bailey's breakup happen. Have something happen. Have them lose the Women's Tag Team titles. If you want, you can have them lose them to Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross or whatever. Since there's really no teams, obviously there's no teams in WWE's Women's Tag Team division. Dana Brooke and Carmella, I don't consider them a tag team. The Kubaki Warriors, they're pretty much broken up because I think Kairi Sane went back to Japan. Fire and Desire, they're broken up. So it would make sense, right? Sasha Banks and Bailey, make them champions. All right. And if you want to drop them back to Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross because, Sasha and Bailey have some kind of distraction or, they have some conflict with one another, I would do something like that. And in, late June, July-ish, right? Have Sasha Banks and Bailey lose those tag team titles and let that be the catalyst to Bailey turning on Sasha Banks, turning Sasha Banks babyface in the process and setting up the rivalry for Sasha Banks and Bailey for SummerSlam when we finally get Sasha as SmackDown Women's Champion. Let me know in the chat, let me know in the comment section what you guys think of that. I've been trying to think of ways of how they're going to do this. We know eventually Sasha and Bayley are going to break up. It's going to happen. It's just, when it's going to happen. Is it going to happen later this month? Is it going to happen in June? It's going to happen, the latest it's going to happen is July. The latest it will happen in July. But some way, some shape or form, we are slowly getting to that. So moving right along, Sasha Banks and Bayley, incredible as always. Getting back to the start of the show, I want to talk about the SmackDown Tag Team Championship Fatal 4-Way between the New Day, the Lucha House Party, the Forgotten Sons, and Miz and Morrison. Honestly, this was basically more of a repeat of the 8-man tag team match we saw on Friday. It said this was just a Fatal 4-Way, all right? But this was a great match. The match was very intense. The action was fast-paced, and that's definitely what you need to start the show. You need something that's going to keep the crowd energized, even though there was no crowd. You needed something to, electrify the crowd. And I gotta give WWE credit. They did a really good job with this match. This was not a match you were gonna put later on in the show because people wouldn't really care it as much. You put it on to start the show, especially with all these athletes. It was great. They've traded finishers. There was a lot of high spots, and in the end, Big E was able to hit Grand Metalik with the big ending to retain the tag team titles for the New Day, which I did predict. I did predict the New Day were gonna win. My second pick would have been the Forgotten Sons, just because, but I had the New Day winning, which they did, because really, the only team that I see that the New Day could lose those titles to is the Forgotten Sons. Just because we've already seen the Miz and Morrison beat the New Day for those titles. They're not going to do it again, because if they were, it would have made no sense why they took the titles off of the New Day at Super Showdown in February. It would have made no sense. So I don't see that happening. No one ever believes the Lucha House Party. The Lucha House Party will probably never win a tag team championship on the main roster. And then the Forgotten Sons, they're the new team. I think most likely, what I think WWE's probably going to do is either this, I'm sorry, I keep burping, I don't know why. What I think's going to happen, at this Friday on SmackDown, or the week after, what I think is, I'm willing to bet, because WWE's predictable and they're uncreative, what I think is going to happen, they're probably going to do something like a triple threat match between the Lucha House Party, Miz and Morrison, and the Forgotten Sons to figure out who's going to be the New Day's next opponent. Remember, Heavy Machinery right now, we have no idea what's going on with them, since Otis is more of a single star now, and the Usos are going to be out till the end of the year. So I think most likely what's going to happen is we're going to see the Forgotten Sons become the new number one contenders, and that would lead to the New Day versus the Forgotten Sons at Extreme Rules or whatever is the next pay-per-view for WWE. But either way, this was a great tag team match to begin the show, and I got to give WWE credit where credit is due. Next up, we had Bobby Lashley versus R-Truth. When I first saw this, I was like, what the hell is WWE doing? All right, because the way I saw it, they had the match structure, the match layout for tonight's show done very well, in my opinion. They only had about 5 or 6 matches, almost all the matches were title matches, and I'm not complaining, but then they added Bobby Lashley versus R-Truth, and WWE has a habit of doing this. When it comes to a show, when there's not a lot of matches announced, they'll wait till the day of the show and they'll just add 2 or 3 extra matches just because. And these are matches that are not anything special. They're not matches that anybody gives a crap about. They're just matches there just to have extra matches to make the show longer. They only did this once tonight with Bobby Lashley and R-Truth, and looking back at it, it doesn't really make me that mad. This was because without this match, this show would have been barely 2 hours long. So I understand why they did it. You know, the match didn't mean anything. No one really cares about Bobby Lashley or an MVP. R-Truth I do care about because the guy's freaking hilarious in the ring. But this wasn't anything special. This was mostly just filler to, you know, fill some time on the show to keep it from being so short. Because this would have probably been, you know, one of the shortest WWE pay-per-views ever without this match. But R-Truth came out. They did make R-Truth look like a freaking retard because R-Truth comes out and he does his full entrance in front of no crowd. There's absolutely no crowd in the Performance Center. He's jumping. He's doing his hippity hoppity skip. And he's going like, "What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?" when there's no crowd there. The guy's looking like a freaking idiot. All right. The thing is, he went on like this for about 2 or 3 minutes, and he's like, "People, what's up?" And you're just hearing crickets because there's no crowd there. All right, I'm kind of surprised WWE didn't have freaking Byron Saxon's, you know, stupid ass stand up and be like, "What's up, Truth?" Just to have that one person say something. Like, WWE, man, But you know, it looked like they were gonna have him MVP go up against him, and I was like, really? Why the hell is freaking MVP of all people in the ring? Like, why is he in the ring? No one gives a shit about MVP these days. But the thing about it is, you know, instead they decided to have Bobby Lashley come out. You know, R-Truth did talk crap to Bobby Lashley, or not Bobby Lashley, to MVP, saying, "I'm going to teach you what balling is." MVP's like, "What the hell are you talking about? I've been teaching the WWE Universe what balling is for years, for over a decade now." I was like, oh my gosh, this is cringe. And I could tell they were just doing this just to fill in time. But then our MVP is like, "If you don't get your stupid ass out of here," and it looks like these two were gonna have a match. But Bobby Lashley comes out. Then R-Truth is like, "Oh man, I don't want to face you." And then Lashley's like, "I'll take care of this MVP. Take the night off." And then R-Truth goes up to Bobby Lashley like, "If he gets to take the night off, I get to take the night off as well." And Lashley's like, No, you don't get to take the night off. I'm here to kick your ass." All right. But R-Truth is like, No. And then he slaps Bobby Lashley in the face. And then Lashley just destroyed Truth. This was less than 5 minutes. Lashley wins with a spear. 1, 2, 3. Later on, we see Truth backstage, and he promised to get back the 24/7 championship from Rob Gronkowski. Remember Gronkowski? He did sign a deal with WWE, but that doesn't really matter now because he went back and signed with the freaking Tampa Bay Buccaneers, coming back to the NFL. So I definitely think eventually, I don't know how they're going to do it, but eventually they are going to do something to get the belt back on R-Truth. All right, make him like 24/7 champion for the 100,000th time. They're definitely gonna do that, you know, somewhere down the line. We'll just have to see where. Like maybe when things get back to normal, WWE works something out with the NFL and has like R-Truth come into the Tampa Bay locker room and pin Gronk, or maybe he comes out on the practice field and pins Gronk. They're definitely gonna do something down the line. To make Truth 24/7 champion again, especially if Gronk's not coming back. But I didn't really care about this. This was mostly filler. Getting next up, we already talked about Sasha Banks and Bayley and Tamina. So next up we had Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship. This was good. I had been actually bitching and moaning about this the last couple weeks because I thought they wrote themselves into a corner. I said this all the time. Strowman should have never won the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. He got lucky because Roman Reigns called out. All right, Roman Reigns quit at the last moment. You know, he got lucky, and he still is lucky to be Universal Champion to this day. But the thing about it is, thing is, here's the thing. When we first got this Braun Strowman Bray Wyatt storyline, I was intrigued because I was like, Bray and Strowman both have history with one another. And, you know, the first couple weeks I was there, but, you know, I slowly kind of fell off a little bit. And I was never really hyped about the match. I was more focused on the story. Well, WWE, they did a really good job tonight. And I'm going to give a lot of credit to Bray Wyatt because I know he has a lot of power when it comes to his character and how he's looked at as WWE TV. And I gotta give WWE credit, man. I think they did a great job with this match and incorporating the story within it. So the match wasn't, you know, anything special, but it was good. It was good. It was hard hitting. You know, Bray Wyatt's the perfect guy, you know, counter against Braun Strowman's monster moveset, you know. And, you know, I loved how like Bray was having like that mental that mental trouble again. Like at the beginning of the match, he was trying to be all kind to Braun Strowman, like, we don't have to do this, man, just come home, man. But then he got more violent as the match gone on because he wanted to take care of Strowman. He hit Strowman with a Sister Abigail, which looked like it was going to be it. And the thing about it is, I've been saying, if Strowman loses this match, the guy's looked as a loser. He's buried. He's just a transitional champion. If Bray Wyatt loses the match, it's going to be worse for him because a lot of people are considering this the last opportunity for Braun Strowman to prove himself. I mean, not Braun, for Bray Wyatt to prove himself. After what happened at Hell in a Cell with Seth Rollins, after what happened at Super Showdown with Goldberg, this was the last opportunity for Bray Wyatt. And I kind of agreed to that point. And I think WWE did a very smart thing with this tonight, especially with what they did with the ending. So after Strowman kicks out of Sister Abigail, Wyatt goes for another Sister Abigail, and we get a reversal. We get a reversal by Strowman, and he starts mounting his comeback. As we see, Wyatt is able to throw Strowman to the outside of the ring, and then Wyatt throughout the match, he was struggling mentally. It was like he was like drifting out of laughing and crying because he didn't want to hurt Strowman, but he knew he had to do what had to be done. But this was good. Like I said, this was good. They have Strowman pop up, and he is wearing his old mask. He's wearing his old black sheep mask from the Wyatt family, and he comes into the ring, and Wyatt is absolutely, you know, beyond himself. He's going crazy with laughter and happiness. He's believing that Strowman has officially come home. He's rejoined his family, and then they show all of the Firefly Funhouse characters, from Mercy the Buzzard to Ribbity Rabbit to the pig to the witch. They're all happy, like, welcome home, Strowman. And then Wyatt and Strowman embraced. Even though I knew where this was going, I felt like this was really kind of creative and a good way to end this match. So it looks like Wyatt's assuming that Strowman's going to lay down for him. I'll let Wyatt become Universal Champion as they reunite. But instead, that's not what WWE does. At the moment, Wyatt is Strowman a hug. Strowman takes off the mask, slams it to the ground, stomps on it with his foot, and Wyatt's like, what the hell is going on? And out of nowhere, Strowman hits it with a running power slam. 1, 2, 3, Strowman retains. And I liked how WWE did this, because clearly this is not over between Wyatt and Strowman. All right, Strowman's talking crap, and he's like, you don't control me, I'm not your little puppet anymore, all these other things. He walks out, he's celebrating his win. So at least, even if Strowman loses the title at Extreme Rules or the next pay-per-view, at least he doesn't look as much as a transitional champion as he would have if he had lost tonight. After the match, I saw what they were doing right away. They had Wyatt sitting in the corner, and all of a sudden they're showing quick glimpses of the Fiend, and we already know where this is going. Bray Wyatt, Mr. Rogers Bray Wyatt, the nice Bray Wyatt, wasn't able to get the job done against Strowman, and now you know what they're gonna do. They're gonna have the Fiend Bray Wyatt, the crazy Bray Wyatt, the demon Bray Wyatt. He is going to be the one that gets the job done against Strowman. No matter if that's at Extreme Rules or the next pay-per-view, they're going to have Wyatt be the guy, or the Fiend Bray Wyatt be the guy to take out Strowman to become Universal Champion once again. And you guys always know what they do. Every time that the Fiend faces somebody, they come out different, aka Seth Rollins, aka Daniel Bryan. So it's going to be what I think they could do if WWE wants. They could play to that fact. Once the Fiend disposes of Strowman becomes different, and then either he changes into a heel or something, or they could just easily pair him back with Bray Wyatt, which is, in my opinion, would be the best case scenario for Braun Strowman when this is all set and done. So I'll give WWE credit where credit is due. They did a good job with this match, not making Wyatt look too weak and having Strowman retain champion in the process. If they have Strowman defeat the Fiend clean, then there is a problem, because then the Fiend is officially buried and it's over. All right, but for right now, let's see what happens. I think we're gonna get another match between Strowman and Wyatt, and this time the Fiend will be the guy going up against Strowman, and I think that will be what needs to get done for Bray Wyatt to regain the Universal Championship. So all in all, good there, and I think I see where WWE is going with this storyline. Moving on, we had the WWE Championship. We just talked about the Universal Championship. We had the WWE Championship between Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins. I had a lot riding on this match, and I said right before the match started, this should be match of the night. This was easily the best match of the night, one of the best main roster pay-per-view matches all year. The only thing that I could complain about when talking about this match is simple. I wish there was a crowd. That was it. This match was great. It started just a tad bit slow, but the match really picked up and the ending was great. There was some people that actually had Seth Rollins winning tonight, and based off the promos that Rollins has been giving, I wouldn't be surprised if you did have McIntyre losing the Rollins. But the thing is, Rollins doesn't need the championship. This is about McIntyre. Like I always say, McIntyre should be holding that WWE championship for most of, if not all of this year. He defeated Brock Lesnar and Big Show in the same night at WrestleMania. The guy, it's going to take a lot to take that WWE Championship away from him. And I think WWE did a great job with this match. That match was hard-hitting. The action was great. And I loved it. Rollins went after McIntyre's leg. And then McIntyre sold really well. There was a point near the end where both Rollins and McIntyre were fighting on the ropes, on the top ropes in the corner. And then McIntyre gets stuck and flipped back row, flipped upside down into the Tree of Woe, and then basically Rollins had been attacking the left leg of McIntyre throughout almost the entire match, and then Rollins is basically using the ropes to cause damage to McIntyre's leg, and out of nowhere, McIntyre pulls himself. He pulls himself from the ropes out of the Tree of Woe and hits a huge German fall away slam, whatever you want to call it. A huge slam that sends Ron flying halfway across the ring. It was freaking incredible. McIntyre goes for a Claymore kick. Rollins counters with a super kick, then a curb stomp. McIntyre kicks out hard, showing the same determination when he kicked out of 3 F5s from Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania last month. Like I said, this was fantastic. Then out of nowhere, Rollins goes for another stomp, runs straight into a devastating Claymore kick, a Claymore kick that came out of nowhere, and then getting pinned. 1, 2, 3. McIntyre is still your WWE champion. This is his first, in my opinion, this is his first legitimate defense because, you know, if you want to count Big Show, I count Big Show to an extent, but remember, McIntyre was wounded at that point. He had just wrestled Brock Lesnar, and Big Show was fresh. And I'm talking about a legitimate defense. This is what we saw tonight, and this is what we need to see from McIntyre going forward. You have way too many opponents for McIntyre on Raw. Like I said, Raw is loaded with talent for McIntyre to go up against. This is why we need a superstar shakeup so badly, because SmackDown has nobody. Nobody. All right, who do you have out? You have what, freaking Baron Corbin? No, you have like Daniel Bryan. You have a Roman Reigns. You have Bray Wyatt. And pretty much, who else do you have? You don't really have anybody else. On Raw, you have Kevin Owens, you have Samoa Joe, you have Seth Rollins, you have AJ Styles, you have Edge, you have Lesnar, you have Randy Orton. I don't believe I'm saying this. I think they're gonna build up fucking Jinder Mahal to face up against Lesnar, or not Lesnar, go up against McIntyre, because you know WWE wants to do that. You know, like, have you guys seen how built this nigga Jinder Mahal has become? You guys were, it's ridiculous how he looks now. All right, I don't know what the guy did to himself. But getting back into it, you have way too many opponents for McIntyre. I hope they don't give us Mahal versus Drew McIntyre, because I can't stand that, and I don't think you guys can stand that either, you know, but we'll just have to wait and see. We know that Edge and Randy Orton are returned to Raw alongside Becky Lynch, so definitely, I know that he's trying to get the ratings up. That's the reason why they're doing this, getting Edge and Orton to come back a little bit earlier, but it's going to be interesting what they do with McIntyre going forward. He defeated Rollins clean, and afterwards, McIntyre, after exiting the ring, re-enters the ring and gives Seth Rollins a handshake out of respect. I like that moment between the two, because it would have been really easy for Seth to either spit on his hand or something like that, being like, I don't respect you. But instead, even though Seth's the heel in this situation, I think WWE did a great job handling this, and, you know, giving Drew a really good title defense, especially when this is, in my opinion, his first real challenge or title defense. So we'll just have to wait and see how this all goes. If they continue the story with Raw, they easily could, but they don't really have to. Yeah, like I said, you have tons of opponents for McIntyre going forward. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. But either way, this was a fantastic match. The only thing missing from it was the crowd, if you ask me. All right, last but not least, before we get out of here, the Money in the Bank matches. We're kind of crazy. I spent the first 30 minutes of this show talking about Sasha Banks and Asuka and Otis and the Money in the Bank briefcases. Well, I don't know how much I'm going to talk about, you know, the briefcase in this, but the match was fantastic. This was very fun. It didn't need to be super serious, even though this is Money in the Bank. You didn't have to be super, you know, ridiculous, you know, shooter. I don't know why I said it. You have to have it, you know, shot so crazy. Like I love the way it was filmed. And you could tell that we did take its time with the editing, but this was great. So I have to drink a lot of water during these reviews. Anyway, getting back into it. The match started off on the ground floor, right? Out the performance center. I kind of liked, you know, cause I was worried of how they were going to do it, having both Money in the Bank ladder matches at once. But thing is, I got to give credit to WWE. They made it work. They made it work with both of the briefcase matches, and they made it fun. You know, they had the women interacting with the men interacting with the females, vice versa. And I liked it. I did. They had everybody start off in the ground floor. They had the women get introduced on the ground floor, while all the men got introduced in the weight room. Asuka, like I said, instead of Asuka coming out like the rest of the women, Asuka was like on the second floor on a balcony, with the Money in the Bank logo behind her, and then she jumped and did a splash, or not, a diving crossbody off the balcony onto all of her opponents to start off the match, and then she got into the elevator to get a head start to the roof. So I like that. I love how Asuka was looking. She was like really concerned, like tried to speak in Japanese, like "Go elevator, go." I found it hilarious, man. We saw that the guys, they thought there was a moment where Otis put a rack of weights on AJ Styles' chest so he wouldn't be able to move, but he was able to get out eventually. And there was a cameo in the bathroom. Rey Mysterio didn't really do much in this match. I knew Mysterio wasn't gonna win. Even though he is the veteran, but Mysterio didn't do much. But then, as they were running past the bathroom, Rey Mysterio was running by himself, and then he runs into Brother Love, all right, aka freaking Bruce Pritchard. And you guys know I'm not a big fan of Bruce Pritchard, but we see Brother Love coming out of the bathroom with his full suit, and he says, "Mysterio, I love you, man." Mysterio says, "I love you too, bro," but I can't stop and talk as he keeps going. And then the first interaction between the men and the women, they were fighting at one of the elevators, and the women were trying to get one into an elevator as well. Asuka came out of the first elevator, and the women saw her and they started chasing after her. Then a knockoff Doink also made an appearance, so it was basically like a knockoff clown. Then we saw they started fighting in one of the conference rooms. We saw Dana Brooke, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and Carmella going at it, and Dana Brooke hit I think it was Nia Jax with a chair, and then she got on top of one of the tables, and she actually saw a briefcase hanging from it, and she took down the briefcase. But I could tell it wasn't the briefcase because, one, they said the briefcase was on the roof. Why the hell would it be in some random conference room? But she took it and she actually thought she had won. Even if she didn't win Money in the Bank briefcase, hell, it looked like a briefcase full of money. I would have took that, as a nice little, second place reward. But then we see Stephanie McMahon show up, and Stephanie McMahon is there to tell Brooke, like, that's not the real briefcase. The real briefcase is on the roof, and she needs to clean up the floor because Nia Jax was freaking drooling all over the place. Then we see AJ Styles. He had been able to escape from the rack of weights that Otis put in for, and he was looking specifically for Rey Mysterio because Rey Mysterio ran by Styles, and Styles asked Rey for help, but Rey just ignored him. So he was checking inside every room, and inside a random room, I love this part, he found a poster of The Undertaker. On the wall, he found a poster of The Undertaker making a WrestleMania entrance. I think it was from WrestleMania 33, the year he went up against Roman. And basically, then he found a random room which had purple lighting and had a real coffin, basically giving him, memories of his Boneyard match with Undertaker. I like how they're still hinting back to that, and it's like Styles still has like a little bit of PTSD from that experience. And then Aleister Black locked him inside the room. Styles was eventually able to get out, but that was a pretty cool moment how they went back to that great Boneyard match with Taker. Speaking of which, make sure if you guys have the WWE Network, go and watch the Undertaker special. All right, the Last Ride documentary. They're doing it pretty similar to the Last Dance documentary with MJ, because I know some people consider the Undertaker the MJ of WWE, even though I think it's Sasha Banks. Anyway, anyway, getting back into the Money in the Bank ladder match, this was great. All right, this was great. I was really enjoying it. I was enjoying the cameos, the funny moments. The music went really well with every segment. You know, they had like new music for every segment of the match. So then we go into a cafeteria and we see Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was enjoying a nice spread. Titus O'Neil and his crew from catering had made some delicious food for our boy Paul Heyman. He had some sandwiches. He had the mac and cheese. He had the cupcakes. You know, like, oh, it looked amazing. And then we see all of the superstars, the men and the women, all run into each other at the cafeteria, and they're all looking at each other. And then Otis, of course, it had to be Otis. Otis comes in and says, "Food fight!" And then he throws a bunch of rice on the Paul Heyman, and the superstars, the men are throwing food at the women are throwing food at the men. Shayna Baszler puts Rey Mysterio in the coquina clutch, and oh man, I was laughing. And I was really glad that we got the music and we didn't have to deal with freaking Tom Phillips or Michael Cole or Byron Saxton's bitch ass or any of those people on commentary. I really loved how they had the music speak for itself during this cinematic experience. We see how Otis ran into another cafeteria, and then he runs into freaking John Laurinaitis, you know, people power. He throws, I think it was like a blueberry pie right in John Laurinaitis' face. And then there was also a part of the match where AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, they were fighting, and they actually fought right into Vince McMahon's office. We see Vince McMahon. It seems like Vince McMahon is making more appearances now during quarantine than he ever would during the WWE calendar year. But basically, what happened here is I expected, to be honest, I expected a little more from. Just checking my messages. I expected a little bit more from, what's his name, from Vince McMahon. I thought they would make his appearance a little more action packed. You know, honestly, it's just Styles and Daniel Bryan. They're staring down Vince, and Vince is like, "Get out of here, man! Like, what are you doing? Get out of here!" But you know, that was it. It wasn't anything special. And then Vince went back to, you know, doing stuff on his computer. I don't know if that's actually Vince's office. Like, I expected Vince's office to be a little more fancy. But you know, who cares? It doesn't matter. I was a little disappointed that was all from Vince's appearance. But still, hey, it was whatever. But then we got to the roof, the ring on the roof, and basically Asuka, Lacey Evans, and Nia Jax were there. And like I said, Shayna Baszler officially buried on the main roster. She's just like everybody else now. Very disappointed that Shayna Baszler didn't even make it to the roof. But I was scared for my life because there was multiple instances where I thought Nia or Lacey was gonna win, but Asuka kept fighting, and Asuka. And the thing about it is, Baron Corbin got to the ladder first, and it looked like, you know, they were teasing that Asuka and Baron Corbin were gonna bring down the briefcase at the same time, but they didn't. They decided to do something different. They decided Asuka actually punched Baron Corbin off the ladder, which he didn't really have to, and it kind of made Baron Corbin look stupid, because the thing about it is, Asuka's going for the woman's briefcase. She's not going for the men's briefcase. Like, who cares if you're first to get the briefcase? What matters is you get the briefcase. So Corbin looked like an idiot. He could have just let Asuka grab the briefcase, and then, you know, he could have just let Asuka grab the briefcase and then grab the men's briefcase for himself, but he didn't. But Asuka still, she punches Baron Corbin off the ladder, and she grabs the women's briefcase. Congratulations to Asuka, my pick, and I'm very happy for her. Like I said earlier, if WWE has Becky Lynch defeat Asuka when it's time for Asuka to cash in, you guys will get the rant of the century from me. All right. I pray they don't do that, but we'll see. But last but not least, then we go over to the men. AJ Styles tried to grab the briefcase. Baron Corbin threw both Aleister Black and Rey Mysterio off the roof of the headquarters, but they landed in a pool. They didn't, land on, you know, the freaking concrete, but they did, like, they had some kind of pool, something set up, so the superstars would be safe even though they were falling off the roof. But Corbin threw both of them off the roof, not surprised. And Styles, it looked like Styles was gonna win, you know, and I would have been fine with that. But Corbin comes to the other side, and Corbin and Styles are both fighting over the briefcase. They actually both unhanged the briefcase at the same time, right? And then the briefcase falls off the ladder right into Otis's hands. Otis wins Money in the Bank. All in all, this was fantastic. I love when WWE does these cinematic segments or these cinematic movies. They did a great job at WrestleMania with Undertaker versus Styles in the Boneyard match, and John Cena versus The Fiend at WrestleMania in the Firefly Funhouse match. This was done fantastically. I'm really glad WWE did it the way they did. It was funny, but it was also serious, and all in all, this was fun. This was fun, and I enjoyed it. You know, would I want them to do it again? I don't know, because I feel like, I don't know if WWE would do it the same way. If WWE was going to do it again, they would probably have to find ways to make it a little more unique, just to make it not look like a rinse and repeat of what they did the year before. But all in all, it was fun, and I liked it. You know, I'm happy Oscar won. I'm not mad about Otis. Nobody that I didn't want to win the match won. So all in all, I'll give it a pass. And you know, the show, it's a pass. Money in the Bank tonight was a good show. All right, it was under 2.5 hours, and you know, it made sense. We'll have to wait and see. Like I said, if Asuka fails and they have Becky defeat Asuka when the time comes for Asuka to cash in her briefcase, you guys will get the rant of the century from me, and I will fucking rip this company to shreds. I pray they don't do that, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But other than that, guys, that's about all I got for you guys today. I want to thank you guys for joining me. We went almost an hour and a half tonight. I know there's people coming in and out of the stream, and if you guys are watching this on playback after the stream is over, thank you guys for sticking through and watching through the podcast. Thank you for everybody that came through tonight. This was a great show. I'm happy. Also, the review tonight was fantastic. It's been a long week. I will be back here tomorrow night with the Monday Night Raw review right around this time, 11 o'clock Monday night, depending on when you guys are watching this. But thank you guys for all the love and support. Thank you guys for joining me here on the Legit Shoot podcast for your Money in the Bank 2020 review. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. Also, make sure to subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Enable notifications by clicking the bell next to my name, FitzMonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Also, follow me on social media. I love live tweeting with you guys tonight. I love live tweeting with you guys during WWE shows. It makes the interaction and it makes the, you know, the experience of watching the show better. Other than that, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys for everything once again. I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you guys later, man. Have a great day, guys. Stay safe and healthy.